maybe they will connect themselves later on. Okay, so now today we're going to start with part number two, Francisco, and that is background to language learning. Okay, what comes to your mind when you hear the word background? What do you think background refers to? Background to learn to language learning. This part is going to be very, very short. You will see there are not many topics as the previous one. I am planning to finish this barely next week, maximum. Mhm. Very good. So it's something that you can see, right? It's like in the theater play. All right. So in this case, there are actors and they are performing, but you just see that part. You don't see what is behind the stage or under the stage. Okay. So you don't see how the language is being modeled in this case. So in this case, talking about language learning, you know that learning is a very huge word, okay, which implies many, many things. Learning is a process. You know that it's not the same. You just don't wake up, sorry, go to sleep at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. and in the morning you suddenly speak English. No, it's not like that, right? So it's not the same. Or it's not the same how we learn to ride a bike, for example, with language. Maybe riding a bike will be easier for people, maybe for others it's not going to be that easy, and the same happens to language. Okay, every single person learns language in a different way. Okay, so during this part two, we're going to talk about all the stages, all the things that people, in this case, students, we call them better students, need to face in order to learn a language. Okay, so we're gonna look at all this process, all these techniques that you as a teacher need to know. Okay, all the teachers need to know about these strategies about language learning. Okay, and today we're going to start with this that is called motivation. Okay, I don't know, did you read the piece of text that I put on at modo, Francisco? Did you have the chance to read the document? No. Oh my gosh, well, that's not bad. Don't worry, you can read it later. Okay, in this case, well, talking about this, the text mainly talk about ways of motivated students. There are some researchers, and especially one of the theories that is the most common one is the theory of Gardner. You know that Gardner, have you ever heard about this Gardner? He's a he's a linguistic psychologist and so on. Like he's like one of the uh, best authors talking about languages. Okay, so he says he mentions about the eight intelligences. You know that. So for him, what is important when you are teaching a language or another or any, he says, in order to motivate, we need to focus on these intelligences. We also need to prepare ourselves as teachers and so on. Okay, so right now we are going to look at this very first part that is motivation. Okay. Okay, so Carla is saying that she wants to connect, but she can't. So let me send the invitation, Francisco, and then we will start. Okay, just let's wait a little bit. I'm gonna send her the invitation, and then we can start. Okay, Francisco, don't desperate yourself. Okay, thank you, Francisco. Thank you very much for waiting. We're gonna wait because I can find her email address. So I'm gonna search it here. Maybe I have it. It's not here. Attendees. Hmm. All right, and okay, I'm gonna see in the contacts the address book. It must be here. No, I can't find her. Mm-hmm. That's it. Oh yes, because nowadays it's included, or the inter and intra is separated, I think. Huh? When I was a student, I was thought that they were only eight. But now we have like maybe night intelligence, and we cannot, huh? And we cannot separate them, right? They are like together. All right. So I can find her email address. So I'm gonna wait for her answer. Meanwhile, I'm going to continue. Okay, Francisco. So tell me, what do you usually do, Francisco, to motivate your students? Tell me, because motivation it's a very extensive term. It's not very easy to I don't know to describe what is motivation. So tell me. Meanwhile, tell me what are some of the things you do to motivate your students. Okay, you're telling me say that the kids don't feel afraid to make mistakes. Very good. That's a good way to motivate them, right? That they don't need to feel frustrated when they are learning a new language. Hmm. I agree with you. Very good. So it's a long process. So they don't need to feel bad, right? And especially children, because they tend to be a little bit hard and tough with their classmates because um it's normal to make mistakes, but you know that we have like very low students, and when they make big mistakes or simple mistakes, for example, house, instead of saying house, that they say house. This is very complicated with children because they laugh. They don't care about what the other person feels, right? So in this case, by telling them that no, like this is not good because it's a process. Your classmate is learning. You know it, but maybe he doesn't. So like something like that, maybe this will be more controlled, right? Mhm. Yeah, so I definitely agree with you about the process. Very nice. Okay, so she doesn't answer to me. Is Carolina your colleague, Francisco? She's answering. That's why. Yeah, it's kind of complicated. Here, you don't remember her face? Don't you know your colleagues, Francisco? Okay, I'm sorry, Francisco. I'm just like putting her in touch. Caroline, hello, how are you? Not too old. Okay, very good, Francisco. I know, I understand. Okay. Oh, hello, Caroline. How are you? How are you? I was asking Francisco if he was your colleague because I couldn't find your email address. Fortunately, you answered to me. That was good. Thank you very much for attending today's class. Caroline, let me know if you can listen to me properly. Can you listen to me, Carol? Okay, thank you very much, Caro. Very good. So we're going to start now. We're complete. Maybe there will be more teachers to attend this class, but anyway, we need to save the time. Now, first. We're talking about motivation, Caroline. We're talking about how we motivate our students because this is a new topic. Okay, so I'm going to show you a video about motivation, and I need to tell me what you can identify that is similar to your classes, or what do you really take into account about these voice advices about motivation. Okay, so I just want to catch the main points of the video, so pay attention to it, and later on you can make your comments. Okay.
In my experience, the difference between people who are successful at learning languages and people who are not is this. People who often give up approach learning languages with a couple of specific questions. They often want to know, how long exactly is this going to take me to do? And how much of my time am I going to have to give every day in order to be able to do this? The reason why is because they don't really like learning languages. They like speaking languages and they like the idea of the benefits of it, but they're not necessarily enjoying the process of learning them. In order to make your language learning a lot more fun, I think you should focus on the things that interest you the most. If you want to learn the language to learn more about the culture, then you should be watching films, you should be reading and enjoying those things that are available. It's also important to reward yourself for the learning that you're doing, so make sure that you give yourselves little treats and maybe even plan a holiday or a trip to the country where they speak the language so you can actually see how much progress you've made since you started learning and how far you could still come in a similar amount of time. The other really important thing is to set realistic goals when thinking about learning a language. That will keep you much more motivated through the language learning process and make sure that you stick to the commitment that you make. So an example of an unrealistic goal is, I want to be able to speak German fluently. That's very, very difficult to achieve and it's going to take you a long time. But an example of a realistic goal would be something like, I would like to have a 10-minute conversation with a native speaker about something very simple and easy. Or, for example, I want to be able to watch the news and understand 50% of it. That's something that is very clear and that you can work towards in order to make sure that you keep seeing how much progress you're making. Share your language learning tips and experiences by leaving a comment below, and make sure you check out the other videos in this series.
All right. So this is the end of the video. I hope you could listen it properly. Okay, I'm just going to make a pause here. Okay, don't give up. Here he mentioned three of these aspects. Have fun learning the language. Treat yourself, travel if possible, and set realistic goals. Okay, so in this case, Francisco and Caroline, she's absent. Maybe she got some problems with her internet connection. Okay, but so far, Francisco, tell me. Yeah, Caroline is back. Hello. All right. So tell me, what of these aspects do you really take into account in your classes? Do you really have fun classes? Do you really treat yourself like you travel, like you take this kind of courses? Right now, you're doing the second step. You are treating yourself. And do you set realistic goals? Now that you are children, I don't know how this will be that complicated, because for children it's very difficult to achieve, really achieve a goal, because they are not on the age. So I want to read you, please write to me. Okay, Francisco and Caroline, tell me, do you do these points in your classes? Me too, Francisco. Every single time. Jokes are good for having a fun class. Okay, thank you, Francisco. You changed that sometimes, you say, sorry, that sometimes I change my voice to make an interesting class. Very good. We were talking about intonation, right? When we saw phonetics and phonology, we were talking about phonetics, right? About intonation. And in this case, well, that's a good way for making the class funnier, right? What about you, Caroline? Do you take these points into account when giving classes? Or more or less? Or sometimes I set goals, sometimes I just have fun with games and so on. Oh my gosh, I think Caroline has some problems. Using technology, very good. That's a way to have fun. Tell me, Francisco, you are a teacher for children. Do you really set goals to children? Do you really tell them like you should this? Sing some songs? Okay, very good. Now I'm worried about the goals, Francisco. What kind of goals do you ask your students to achieve? Prony goals, okay? What's that exactly? Prony goals. Can you explain me a little bit about what are prony goals? Can you explain me what are Prony goals, Francisco? I know maybe you are writing, but I just need to know if you understood. Okay, thank you, Francisco. I'm sorry for keeping you on the pressure, but I want to know if you have some well, what are Pronicos? Because I don't know about them. I have never heard. Oh, okay. Good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Yes, I imagine that you have like very simple goals to achieve, right? Like maybe identify the colors, right? Or learn three animals, three pets, for example, dog, cat, and hamster, maybe, right? Like those kind of goals. Hmm. No, they're not. So I'm misunderstanding. Oh my gosh, very good. And that's your job, right, Francisco? And that's your job to guide these students to accomplish these complicated goals, right? Yeah, but I'm sure you do it very well. Huh? Very good. I'd be very happy you to share the link with me. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, send it to me by WhatsApp or in Edmodo. Maybe that will be helpful for the TKT. Maybe we can catch some ideas from your own examples. Nice. I like that idea. Thank you very much, Francisco. Now, with this, I'm going to start explaining you, okay? First of all, motivation. All right. So, what is motivation? Basically, is the thoughts and feelings which make us want to continue and want to do something and which turn our wishes into action. Okay, so basically, if you are in a class, you need to have motivation to continue with that class. Okay, or you have a wish. Maybe in this case, Francisco and Caroline. Okay, so I will check the link later on. Thank you very much, Francisco. I'm going to have a look at this. Uh-huh. Very nice. Thank you. So, what I was trying to say is that, for example, your wish, Caroline and Francisco, is to get the TKT. So that is your motivation to get the TKT, to be certificate, to have an international certification as teachers, right? TKT band for very good, Francisco. That's your wish. Okay, so that's why you're motivated and you are taking this course. Okay, so in this case, what motivation influences are why people decide to do something. So, for example, this course is making the decision you to take the class, for example. How long they keep wanting to do it? Okay, for how long? In this case, you know that is for more or less about 3 months, right? So I hope you continue at least, well, no, not at least. I want you to continue the 3 months so that you can be well prepared, okay? And how they work to achieve it. So in this case, I need you need to have motivation to do the readings, to do the quizzes in Edmodo, and so on. Okay, so yeah, I need you to be motivated in order to do them. Okay, so before I continue, I want you to tell me, I want you to answer this question. Caroline, I hope you can listen to me, okay? And you can type on the chat. What motivated you to study English? Okay, because we have been talking about our students and things like that, but I want to ask you, what motivated you before being teachers, just when you were students? Remember, what motivated you to study English? To really focus on this beautiful language. Very good, Francisco. Travel around the world. So you always wanted to travel. Be a different person. Wow. Such a nice answer, Francisco. Yeah, that sometimes happened, right? When you listen or study or speak and so on in English, you are like another person. Open my mind. Good to have more ideas, not to keep with the old ones, like our grandparents and so on. Okay, so you have very three nice reasons, Francisco. What about you, Caroline? Do you have any motivation, or what were your motivations to be an English teacher or to study English, just to study English? All right, very good. Nice answer, Caroline. And indeed, we're going to talk about this kind of motivations. Yes. For example, in the case of Francisco, it was more like an intrinsic motivation because that was something that he felt himself to be good for him, to travel, to be a different person. And in your case, Caroline, was an extrinsic motivation because some other people influenced you to learn English or to study English because you were forced to do it. Okay, so very nice examples. And with this, I will keep with those examples so that we can analyze later on. Okay, so now, but before talking about this type of motivation, we're going to go to the factors and results. Okay, well, what you need to know that is a factor. A factor is a thing that influences in motivation and result in the consequence of acquiring this motivation. They sometimes are joined instead of being separated. Okay, so the factors and results sometimes are joined. Because of this I get this, right? Or if I have a result, I need a factor, and so on. So in this case, we're going to talk about these factors and results. Okay, so the first one is achieve practical things. Okay, then what is this? Well, for example, finding a better job, getting into a course, getting good marks, etc. Okay, so maybe we have something that we want to achieve. Hmm? There are some people that just do it because of the job. They don't really care about English. They don't care about culture. They just want it because it's a requirement for their jobs. Okay. Or for example, me in my case, I did the TOEFL like 2 months ago, in order because I want to study my master degree. So I needed to have like 550 points, and I got them, fortunately. So I needed to have them, and now I can do my master degree. Okay, so that was my achieve. That was my motivation to do the TOEFL test. Now, target language culture. Most people don't only care about achieve something, but also for the mere pleasure of culture, right? That is part of the culture. For example, reading books. There are many authors, or there are many people that like reading books from native authors. Understand comics, for example, movies, or simply because we want to move to another culture and be part of it. Okay, so I don't know in your case, Caroline, but maybe you went to the United States because you wanted to know about their culture. Okay, so you have pre-motivation and then the motivation there. So your pre-motivation was that you wanted to be part of that culture. And so on. So I have many students and friends and myself that I don't like to watch movies when they have subtitles, or they are not very, like the speakers, as they are not native speakers, the sounds are not good. So I prefer to watch the movies in their real language. Okay, so that's something good. So we have to achieve and language culture. Okay, now gain confidence. Talk to people in a sociable situations like reunions, meetings, or even parties, right? So they just want to communicate more with other people, and they sometimes feel frustrated because they cannot talk. For example, imagine that there is a reunion of an important event, and this reunion has many or many foreign people attend this reunion, and you cannot talk to them because you don't have the enough confidence, obviously because you don't know the language. Okay, so we have three factors, and at the same time results, because obviously if you want to achieve, maybe you will get the job. Okay, and so on. So in this case, we're talking about achievements, language, cultures, and confidence. All right, so I'm going to continue with other four of them. Autonomy and independence. Keep studying by our own, like taking online courses, investigate more about a topic, or even learning more than one language. Okay, so this is more like a factor is a result, right? So if we have motivation, then we will become independent. Okay, but sometimes it's also a factor. What do I mean with this? Like maybe your teacher is telling you, okay, every single week you need to bring me one exercise online. Just take the screenshot and send it to my email. And then you need to be autonomous somehow. Even though you are forced, you are doing by your own. You are doing the exercise by yourself. Now, encouragement. Okay, realizing the importance of the language. Therefore, you may get encouraged to learning another one by your friends, teachers, family, etc. Okay, so in this case, it's how the other people affect you. So this is another factor. Maybe your cousins from the United States are visiting you, and then you want to communicate with them, but they only speak English. So you ask them to tell you, to show you, to teach you, and then you can communicate with them. Okay, or basically another point is wishing. Okay, which is desiring to communicate fully with people. You may have friends, boy or girlfriends, etc., who speak other languages. Okay, so it's just for the mere pleasure of speaking another language. Okay, in this case, you just wish to learn Spanish, Italian. Maybe you don't even need it because not many people in Mexico, for example, they speak Italian, or you don't. It's not in your plans to be. To go to Italia soon, right? Maybe it's just because you want it. You like the language. When you listen to it, you feel something in your heart, and you say, "Well, I want to learn Italian." Okay, enjoying classes. This is our job, teachers. Enjoying. You like the activities, course books, the teacher's explanations, and even the teacher's personality, right? So another part of motivation, I have heard many students of mine that say, no, teacher, I don't like English because of this and this and this. And at the end of the course, I asked them, right? So how did you find the course? And they said, no, it was absolutely good. I cannot say that it's my favorite subject, but I can say that I really enjoy the classes. So now I have another ideology about language, and that makes me feel very, very cool, right, at the moment, because I feel that I'm doing my job perfectly. Okay, so now here I go with this. I want to repeat the points about factors, achievements, okay, language, culture. So if you have a notebook, you can make your notes. Okay, confidence. You gain confidence, autonomy or independence, encouragement for wishing and enjoying classes. So basically, we have seven factors and at the same time results of being motivated with languages. Mhm. Now, as I was telling you, there are two types of motivation. One is intrinsic and the other one is extrinsic. So pay lots of attention to me because maybe you will have a question about this in the TKT test. Okay, the intrinsic is a motivation from oneself. For example, achieve practical things, target language culture, gain confidence, autonomy, independence, and wishing. Okay, so in this case, it's just because you want to learn it. Just like Francisco's example, like he said that he wanted to travel around the world, be a different person. So it's just for his mere satisfaction. Whereas extrinsic, as in the case of Caroline, is when you are motivated from others who influence in your learning process. Example, encouragement, enjoying classes, or even target the language culture. In this case, target the language culture has to do with both. Okay, for example, in Caroline's, it was about target the language culture. Okay, why? Well, because she said, I moved to the United States. Okay, so she wanted to be part of the culture, so she needed to speak English. Hmm? Very good. Maybe she also enjoyed her classes. I don't know, but maybe she did it. In my case, I did. That's why I decided to be an English teacher. Okay, so these are two important. Remember, intrinsic and extrinsic. Sorry, extrinsic. Now, there are other two can say terms about motivation that they are not very important, but anyway I want to mention them. There might also exist unmotivated students. Which are these students? Well, the ones that don't have any interest, even though you are always encouraging them, even though you are doing readings and speaking and writing activities about their interests, likes and things that they enjoy, they don't really want to learn another language. Okay, and obviously the motivated, those one that had a lot of interest, but little by little they went like that, like going down, and they lost their interest. Okay, so they were interested maybe at the beginning, but little by little they didn't care about English, and that's it. Okay, so, Caroline and Francisco, do you have any question about this so far? Any problems? Any questions? As I told you, it's a very easy topic, but I need to know if you don't have any question. Intrinsic, extrinsic, about achievement. All right, very good. So nice. This is like an extra. Okay. Here I have two writers, that are they are researchers. I can tell them researchers for motivation. I don't know how to pronounce their names honestly. It's Dornay and Caesar. I don't know if that is the correct pronunciation. Okay, they are talking nowadays about 10 key areas in which the teacher can influence learning motivation, and have provided a list of strategies for motivated learners in these areas. Okay, for example, the teacher. What do the teacher have to do? Show a good example by being committed and motivated. Try to behave naturally. Be as sensitive and accepting as you can. Okay, you as a teacher, you need to follow these three steps. The classroom atmosphere. Create a pleasing, calm, secure, and ordered atmosphere in the classroom. Being in humor and laughter and smile. Okay, and so on. So as you can see, I'm gonna share this slide in Edmodo, with a complete video, so that you can analyze little by little. This is an extra. You are not going to be asked in the TKT exam about these things, but it's important. Maybe you can find some of them very useful for your classes. Okay, how you can make autonomous students, for example, that sometimes is very difficult. How can you include culture in your classes? Okay, so in this case, maybe this will be useful, right? Now, let's go with a real practice, okay? Let's go with the sample test. Here we have, for questions from 1 to 5, look at the advices or the advice for motivating learners and the three classroom activities listed from A, B, and C. Two of the activities match the advice. One activity does not. Choose the letter A, B, or C, which do not match the advice. So in this case, what you need to underline is the one that do not have to do with this motivation. Okay, so if you know the concepts, then you will know how to make advices about motivation. Okay, so for example, promote learned autonomy. Here we have three examples. Okay, give learners advice on how to use study resources, go over the answers with the whole class, and give learners a set of goals to choose from. Okay, so if you know what autonomy is, then you will get the answer. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes maximum to do this activity. They are just 5 questions, and if you finish earlier, please let me know so that I can continue. All right, so go on, 10 minutes, do your activity now. Okay, how are you doing? Is that difficult? You still have like 5 minutes left. Mhm. But if you are done, let me know, please. Okay, thank you, Francisco. How was it? Difficult? How did you find it? Easy, difficult, more or less? Yes, right. So you need to keep on training with these keywords. Okay, so I'm gonna show you the answers, Francisco, so that you can check if you have the answers on your notebook. Just mark the correct ones. Okay, and this is because of time, and I think Caroline has quit the class. Maybe she got some problems with her internet connection. Okay, good. Good, Francisco. Thank you for showing me your answers. Okay, so now we're gonna check if they are right. Number one is B. That's it, right? How you manage the autonomy of the students if you give them the answers. So that's totally impossible, okay? Number two, explain that culture covers many key kinds of activities. So it's A, very good. So you just by saying that, come on, that doesn't give you the real idea of the culture. Very nice, Francisco. Congratulations. Number three, you said that is C. Yeah, this was very confusing, but in this is letter A. Personalize the learning process. Discuss with learner the personal hobbies of some famous politicians. So this is not about to personalize the learning process. Okay, because it doesn't have to do with them. Remember, when you personalize the classes is because you take care of the student, not the politicians. Okay, these, for example, the politicians maybe will be part of the culture, but again, politicians are not even part for culture sometimes. Okay, so in this case, that's why this was the answer. Okay, number four, increase the learner's awareness of their goals. You say that was A. Okay, but this is incorrect. In this case, is ask learners which learning strategies help them learn the best. Okay, so in this case, it doesn't have to do with their goals. It has to do with their learning styles, but it's not about their achievements. Okay, so for example, letter A is yes, because you are going to ask them to, in a checklist, the language function they think they need to learn. Okay, so in this case, for example, what do you need to learn? Well, I have problems with modal verbs. Okay, so I'm going to teach them the modal verbs. In this case, the function of suggestion, possibility, obligation. So that's why. So in the last one is not about them. Maybe, Francisco, this the learning strategies will be for the autonomy of the students, okay, or for personalize the learning process, because then you will focus in their ways of learning, like Gardner said about the nine intelligences. Okay, and finally, increase the learner's self-confidence. Okay, you say C, but in this case it's B, Francisco, the one that you don't need. Okay, allow learners to move around the classroom whenever they want. Okay, this is not for about self-confidence. Remember, self-confidence is that you can talk to others. Uh-huh. So in this case, you are not having this interaction. You are not giving them the conference. But in C, yes. Okay. Because then if you teach them about the dictionary or about a book, any book, then they might have like this idea of how to use this kind of instruments. And at least they will have self-confidence with the content. Uh-huh. And not exactly with, and whatever, whenever they want, that's for what. Okay, if they will be, this will be possible, maybe if it says here, allow learners to move around the classroom whenever they want and talk whoever with someone that is next to him or to her. Maybe this will be possible. Okay, so Francisco, I think you got some mistakes in this exercise, but don't worry. Maybe you need to study a little bit more about motivation, about the strategies. Maybe that will be a good option to read the text that I sent to your email, because there you have many advices about these motivation concepts, and the what implies to be motivated and so on. Okay, so far so good, Francisco. Are you okay? Very nice. Okay, so I hope this class was very useful to you. Remember the types of motivation: culture, practical things, self confidence, independence, wishing. And please, if you have time, try to read this. These are some advices, okay, for this. So maybe this will be also useful for you to answer this sample test, okay, or to answer more sample tests about motivation. Okay, so during today and tomorrow, I'm going to be creating a new quiz about the second part of the first topic, that was about the skills: learn listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Okay, so be aware of that and check it model. I will be sending you a message anyway, but check it model. I don't know, like constantly. Okay, so that's all, Francisco. Thank you very much, and see you on Monday. I hope to see you on Monday. Bye. Take care. Good night. sleep well, and thank you very much for this lovely class. You too, Francisco. Wish you all the best. Goodbye.